Of a sightseeing boat on the Danube River, boarded in Budapest by 33 South Korean passengers and 2 Hungarian crew members. On Thursday, 3 more bodies were found along the river, 2 South Korean passengers and 1 Hungarian crew member, raising the death toll to 19. Oh Soo-young with the details.
Authorities have retrieved another body along the Danube River, some 5.8 kilometres downstream from the site where the mermaid tourist boat capsized last week. The body was discovered by locals, and Seoul's response team in Budapest confirmed it was the body of a South Korean man in his 60s. Less than 2 hours later, another body was recovered some 40 kilometres down from the accident site at around 11:30 a.m. local time. Authorities identified the victim as a Korean woman in her 30s. A third body was discovered in the evening about 4 kilometres down from the wreckage. The victim was later confirmed to have been one of the 2 Hungarian crew members who had been on the ill-fated boat. This brings the death toll to 18 South Koreans and 1 Hungarian out of the 35 people who boarded the mermaid last Wednesday. Only 7 people survived the sinking, 9 remain unaccounted for. A floating crane has been standing by since Wednesday to salvage the wreckage, but has not been able to reach the accident site due to unsafe water levels. Korean authorities have told reporters they're considering other means such as floating docks to lift the wreckage. While Korean authorities have not yet announced specific dates for funeral proceedings, the authorities in Budapest have started issuing death certificates. Observers say cremations are set to begin on Friday, while bodies for burial are expected to be returned to Korea over the weekend. In the meantime, investigations are ongoing over the larger cruise ship that collided with the boat carrying the South Korean tourists. The captain of the bigger cruiser was found to have been involved in a crash a matter of weeks before the Danube sinking, in the Netherlands in April, according to the Hungarian prosecution. The Ukrainian captain was formally arrested last weekend on charges of endangering water transport, which led to the deadly sinking of the mermaid. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Now, US President Donald Trump says he will decide after this month's G20 summit whether to carry out his threat to hit Beijing with tariffs worth at least $300 billion, with Trump scheduled to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Osaka. The US president said his decision will follow that meeting. The date for a meeting between the 2 leaders has not yet been revealed. Trump's comments come as the trade negotiating teams of the 2 sides have not met since May 10th. China's Huawei has signed a deal with Russian telecoms firm MTS to develop 5G tech in Russia. It should provide some much-needed relief to the Chinese tech giant, which has been under intense international scrutiny in recent months. The deal was agreed as Chinese President Xi Jinping continues his 3-day state visit to Russia. Huawei and MTS said in a statement that they will begin developing next-generation 5G networks in Russia over the next 12 months. Huawei has been in turmoil since May, when the Trump administration banned American companies from selling high-tech equipment to the Chinese company over suspicions it was spying for Beijing. The International Monetary Fund is warning the United States that its escalating trade dispute with China could pose substantial risks to the U.S. economy. The IMF also said the trade war could wipe over $450 billion of global GDP next year. Lee Seung-jae reports.
With the trade war raging between the United States and China, the head of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, warned on Thursday that it could have substantial risks for the U.S. and global economy.
To agree to eliminate the distortions that put a brake on growth, and that not only will affect the economy of those countries directly impacted, but will also have spillover effects way beyond the shores of those countries. And we very strongly believe that a better integrated international trading system is actually conducive to that sustainable, strong and balanced growth that is so much needed. And as I've said many times, nobody wins a trade war and everybody suffers.
Speaking in Washington, Lagarde said in order for the global economy to function smoothly, it needs to be more open, more stable, and more transparent.
We believe that for the global economy to actually function well, it needs to be able to rely on a more open, more stable, more transparent, more predictable, and rules-based international trade system. And as such, it will be essential for the US and all its trading partners, including the likes of China, Mexico, and others, to agree on a new system.
Meanwhile, in a review of U.S. policies, the international lender said the U.S. economy is on track to grow 2.6% this year, up from its previous growth forecast of 2.3% made in April, adding it was boosted by easy financial market conditions. However, the IMF says a number of factors threatened this positive outlook, and it called on the Federal Reserve to hold off on interest rate hikes, which would put the brakes on growth. The IMF's warning came as it released a grim outlook on the global impact of the trade war. Earlier this week, the IMF chief said in a briefing note for the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors that taxing all trade between the world's two largest economies would wipe $455 billion off global GDP next year, an amount of loss larger than South Africa's entire economy. Lagarde also criticized the Trump administration's efforts to overhaul the global trade relationship by continuing to raise tariffs, stressing the importance of resolving the trade war with Beijing. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, the U.S. still plans to push ahead with its plans to impose tariffs on Mexico next Monday over the flow of undocumented migrants from Central America to the U.S. Officials from the two countries continued discussions into the night on Thursday in hopes of striking a deal, but the talks ended with the White House saying that the U.S. position has not changed and they are still moving forward with tariffs at this time. The comments come amid reports the two sides were nearing a deal. The Washington Post reports Mexican officials have promised to deploy up to 6,000 National Guard troops to the border with Guatemala in a show of force they say would reduce the number of migrants heading to the U.S. border. The tariff talks are set to continue on Friday in Washington. Trump has threatened to slap 5% tariffs on all Mexican imports starting next week if Mexico does not do more to contain the migrant flow. Now, Samsung Electronics is the third largest patent holder when it comes to artificial intelligence. According to a German market research firm, IPlytics, the South Korean tech giant owned 11,243 patents on AI as of January this year. That's the third largest number after Microsoft and IBM, which hold over 18,000 and 15,000 respectively. Qualcomm, that owns 11,000 patents, with Google with around 9,500. Out of the top 10 AI-related patent owners, 5 were US firms and 2 were Japanese. In terms of filing applications, the US, China and Europe top the figures, indicating a high level of research activities. Now, we're going to start our look around the world with Thursday's emotional ceremony in Normandy, France, to mark the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings. D-Day was the invasion by American, British and Canadian troops into Nazi-occupied northern France that turned the tide of the Second World War, but came at the cost of so many young men's lives. The leaders of several countries were at the ceremony, including the leaders of the US, France, the UK and Canada. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Hong Yu. So, European leaders highlighted the importance of alliance during their speeches. Was President Trump's speech along the same track?
Like you said, Mark, European leaders tried to emphasize the importance of alliances to President Trump, saying it was alliance between Western countries that have kept the continent at peace for years. French President Emmanuel Macron praised the ambition and bravery of the U.S. when they have fought for universal values. And then he addressed Trump, saying that by staying united, they can overcome any challenges ahead.
We want to show ourselves to be worthy of the heritage of peace that we have received from you, our dead, worthy of the promise of Normandy. And being worthy of the promise of Normandy is to never forget that when free people unite, they can conquer any challenge.
Queen Elizabeth II stressed the need to maintain close and long-standing friendship as they were facing new challenges in the 21st century during her state banquet with Trump earlier in the week. Take a look.
After the shared sacrifices of the Second World War, Britain and the United States worked with other allies to build an assembly of international institutions to ensure that the horrors of conflict would never be repeated. While the world has changed, we are forever mindful of the original purpose of these structures, nations working together to safeguard a hard-won peace.
Despite their efforts, President Trump at the ceremony in Normandy on Thursday offered little embrace to the transatlantic alliance. Instead, he chose to mostly share the heroic stories of U.S. veterans who put their lives on the line during D-Day. European leaders had hoped Trump's visit to Normandy to have worked as a reminder of the value of their transatlantic alliance. But with the race for the second term of presidency to begin soon, President Trump will likely continue his America First policies to keep his base fired up. Fiat Chrysler's proposed merger with Renault, which could have created the world's third largest automobile company, has collapsed on Wednesday. Its plan to join forces with Renault fell through after the French government, Renault's biggest shareholder, wasn't ready to sign off on the deal. The French government said it wouldn't support the merger unless Nissan guaranteed that its alliance with Renault would continue. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said that an agreement could not be reached between all partners in the negotiations on the government's conditions for a deal. The merger could have saved the car makers more than $5.6 billion a year. Mastercard has canceled a planned advertising campaign featuring Brazilian soccer star Neymar due to a recent rape accusation made against him. Mastercard said in a statement Thursday that it will suspend advertisements featuring Neymar until he's clear from the allegation. The woman accused him of raping her last month in a Paris hotel and appeared on Brazilian TV Wednesday for her first on-camera interview. Neymar has posted a minute-long video on his official Instagram account denying the allegation and accusing the woman of trying to extort him.
Time now for our Life and Info segment, where we focus on information that we hope is useful for your everyday life, whether you're in Korea or somewhere else around the world. Today, we're going to focus on culture and sports. And to explain what's going on in South Korea right now, I'm glad to say we have our Won Jong-hwan in the studio for us. Hello, Jong-hwan.
Hi, Mark. How well do you know about South Korea's all-time best figure skater, Kim Yuna?
Very well. I saw the 2010 Vancouver performance, the goal-winning performance, one of the most amazing pieces of ice skating I think you can ever witness. You can probably check it out on YouTube if you want to watch it, and also the rather controversial surroundings in 2014. Yeah. So you're going to talk about Kim today?
Yes. Well, today I would like to talk a little about the figure skating queen, who officially retired about 5 years ago, but is returning for some highly anticipated ice skating galas in Seoul.
Yeah.
So to begin with, Kim Yuna retired in 2014 after the Winter Olympics in Sochi. In her decade-long career, she was a 6-time South Korea national champion, 3-time Grand Prix champion, 2-time world champion, and Olympic gold and silver medalist.
Pretty successful then.
Yes. These are just the high points in her glorious figure skating career. But South Koreans remember her as one of their favorite athletes, not just because of her breathtaking performances that epitomized beauty, charisma, and splendor, but because of her image as a humble athlete who made the country proud in a sport that had been previously neglected. When she won gold at Vancouver 2010, Kim was the country's first Winter Olympic medal winner outside of speed skating, making her success even more remarkable.
Well, I'm sure we could go on for a whole newscast talking about Kim Yuna's various successes. And it's you know, you have to remember that she's still a young woman. She started very early and she retired a lot earlier than many people had hoped she would do. But we hear through the grapevine, you're going to tell us, that we still might have at least one more chance to see her skate again.
One or many more.
Yeah.
So the 11th edition of the annual All That Skate ice figure skating show is here, and the star of the show this year is Kim Yuna.
Right.
Yes. For the fans, it's been about a year since they last saw Kim Yuna out on the ice rink. Her performance last year at the All That Skate 2018 ice show was just a 3-minute special guest appearance. So technically, it's been almost 5 years Korean fans haven't seen Kim make an official performance as a main star. Let's listen how she feels to be back.
I'm looking forward to working with skaters who are actively performing on the global stage and excited to see how we can create harmony between us. I'm very happy to show our performances to the fans who have been waiting for us.
So the theme of the 2019 All That Skate event is Move Me. One of the two directors, Sandra Vezic, who has joined this ice skating program for the first time, explains in more detail.
Well, the theme of the show is Move Me, and it's taken from our opening piece of music, which is Movement by Hozier. And the reason we chose it is because the lyrics fit perfectly for skaters. It's about how we speak through our movement and we connect with the audience through our movement. And it's that interaction from the public to the skater and back. So when you move me. And that's the theme of the show.
Well, it's interesting to hear those comments there, Jong-hwan. So this is Kim Yuna's first official, shall we say, appearance, performance since Sochi in 2014, so 5 years.
5 years.
Fans have had to wait. What do we hear from Kim herself? How is she saying she's preparing for this show? Because she's still a fit young woman, and presumably she's still 29 years old, and presumably she still practices a fair bit in her free time.
Yes, during the press conference on Tuesday, Kim said that when she performed as a special guest last year, she didn't have enough time to prepare for a complete show for the audience, for the fans. But this time is different. She said that she has prepared so much that she feels a little nervous to show the performance to the fans. You know, like when you study so hard, you practice so hard, you feel nervous rather than being confident.
Yeah.
I think the ice skating queen felt the same.
Well, some very lucky ticket holders out there, I'm sure, going to see what promises to be a dazzling performance by Kim Yuna. Do we know exactly how many times she'll be on the ice? Is it just one time per night, or we don't know for sure yet? That's all under wraps, I suppose.
To tell you more about the what she will perform at the show, she, unlike last year, she performed only one song.
Right.
This year, she will perform 2 gala programs.
Okay.
She will dance along the songs of A Variation on Dark Eyes and Issues. And here's what she says about it.
First, I chose The Dark Rise. It's gypsy style music from Russia. It expresses the feelings of sorrow and joy together. I think the audience can focus on those aspects when I am performing. And for the issue programme, we have mixed the acoustic and remix version together on the original pop music. So I think the audience can have some fun and enjoy the programme.
She explained that she has focused more on the artistic aspects rather than some technical aspects, so we might not be able to see her trademark triple axel. However, Kim said that she thinks she can connect with the audience better than in her previous performances before she retired.
Well, I don't feel as much pressure as I did when I was performing in the Olympics. I think because of that, I can act freely and with style. That's how I would like to perform during the music. I think the audience will understand my show better.
The ice show, which runs until this Saturday, also features young Korean figure skaters such as Choi Da-bin, Kim Ye-rim, and Lee Mun-soo, alongside current world-class global skaters such as jump machine Nathan Chen and Pyeongchang silver medalist Shoma Uno. And as well as the ice show by world-class skaters, there are musical performances by Korean artists such as Mamamoo and Sweet Sorrow and Barbarette.
Sounds like a wonderful lineup. I'm looking forward to seeing the jump machine. He must be something to behold on the ice. But can people still purchase tickets for these shows?
Yes, I just checked before I came to the studio just a minute ago, and you can still purchase the shows for the remaining tickets for Friday and Saturday through online Interpark website. So for those who like to see the mesmerizing ice skating figure queen's performance, maybe it's time to check it out.
So Friday and Saturday, we're talking about this Friday, tonight and Saturday.
Tomorrow. Yes.
Okay, so you better hurry up and book your tickets if you want to see Kim Yuna for the first time in a very long time. Jongwan, thank you very much for coming in. We always appreciate it, and we hope to speak to you again soon. Now we're going to take a quick look at other cultural and sports events that Jongwan has kindly brought in that are taking place across South Korea.
Good morning. The heavy rain that pounded the country is tapering off, but parts of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-do provinces are still seeing heavy rainfall. And Seoul also saw nearly 40 millimeters of rainfall in less than 24 hours. And the rain will completely let up by late this afternoon for most areas. But regions in the east will see showers until dawn tomorrow, with mountainous regions possibly getting up to 120 millimeters of more showers. So heavy rain advisories remain in place there, and a strong wind advisory is in effect for Jeju and other areas along the coast, as well as a high seas watch. So please check your travel schedules in case of any cancellations or delays. Temperatures, though, will be a lot cooler. Daegu especially will notice highs dropping by nearly 10 degrees Celsius compared to yesterday, but sunshine and warm temperatures will return in time for the weekend. This afternoon, Seoul will get up to 25 degrees Celsius, and Gwangju and Jeju will be topping out at 24 degrees. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. Do stay tuned to Arirang TV. And a reminder, our next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time. So until then, goodbye.
천년 전부터 오지치라고 자기를